Oh, welcome to another episode of the Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor senders. If you want to do email deliverability correctly, there's links. You can read all of that. But without them, it would not be possible to interview awesome people doing awesome things like Mark. Welcome.
How are you, Blake? Glad to be here.
Man, I'm so cool. Like we were talking about earlier, uh, it's really awesome what you've built and why you're building it. And without spoiling too much, I think Crazy Socks have been something that have meant a lot to me for most of my life. So, so thank you for doing that. But for anyone else that doesn't know, if you could give a quick introduction of yourself and what you're building.
Well, we our initial platform is John's Crazy Socks. John is my youngest son. He's an entrepreneur. He's an athlete. He's a speaker, and he happens to have Down syndrome. What we built is a slightly different type of business model. It's a social enterprise. So we have both a business mission, business drive, and a social mission, and they feed off of each other. We wouldn't exist if we were only one of those two. We have a very simple mission, which John drives, and that's spreading happiness. We want to bring a little joy into the world that could use some joy. John defines that, says the keys are gratitude and doing for others. And much of what we do is based around showing what people with differing abilities can do. So more than half of our colleagues have a differing ability. Autism is the most common diagnosis, if you will. Giving back is baked into everything we do. So we've donated over $800,000 to our charity partners. And like John likes to say, we're just getting started. And then wait, there's more. We're building on what we've been able to achieve there with a new platform called Abilities Rising, which includes John's Crazy Socks. Abilities Rising has the same mission. Let's spread some joy and let's show what people with different abilities can do. So there are different pieces to it. There's the e-commerce piece and the services we offer through that. We are establishing a publishing company, which will publish books by, for, and about people with differing abilities. We'll have our first books out before Christmas. We are not, it's in keeping with who we are. It doesn't all have to be broccoli. Something your mother says is good for you. You got to sit down and eat it. So Our first book will be John's Giant Book of Jokes. And then the other piece to that is John and I travel the country, do a lot of speaking engagements. We meet with other businesses and families that are always looking for help. So we're creating a coaching/consulting ability to help families that want to start a business around their child with a different ability, and to help businesses, particularly small and mid-sized businesses, that want to hire people. Then they have employment needs. So we're fortunate. We get to do a lot of things, and we're building on this mission.
Yeah, it sounds like you're just a little busy.
Well, we're all busy. Though, and this is key, I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs in your audience. I am big on who, not how, which is a terrific book that I'd recommend to you. But, the idea is when you come up with an idea for something, don't immediately start figuring out how am I going to do this. Figure out who is going to do it. Who can I get to work on this project? Because that person will know more than you do. And that person will be able to put more focus and energy. And that lets us multiply and scale.
That's a beautiful rule. I think a lot of times the conversations on this podcast about growing a business, scaling, and stuff like that has to do with intuitive things, which is marketing, sales channels, strategies, things like this. But not often enough do people talk about the teams that or the people that are involved in executing those strategies and how far that goes. So I appreciate you highlighting that.
Yeah, it's we succeed because of the people we have working with us. Um, you have to be careful. We've learned we have to be careful of not over hiring. And I'm an old man. I've been managing people since I've been 20 years old.
Yeah.
And along the way, you learn skills matter. You need somebody who has sufficient or skills to do the job. But culture and fit matters much more. Um, if I'm hiring a graphic artist, I don't need Pablo Picasso. I don't need
Mm.
the greatest artist in the world. I need somebody who can do the work, but I need somebody who buys into our mission and our culture and our way of doing things. That that doesn't mean homogeneity. We have a diverse team, and you want diversity, but you got to get. I could talk about our pillars and
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
approach to employee engagement. You got to offer people a mission worthy of their commitment. Something bigger than ourselves, something more than just we're going to make money. And don't misunderstand me. We want to make money.
Mm.
We live indoors. We got to pay the rent.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's got to be something more than that. And you spoke about it before we went on air. Of what's the impact? What are you bringing out into the world? And every organization needs to know what's their mission, their purpose, and then you attract people that share that.
Well, so I'm curious because it's really powerful what you're saying. I think it's very wise, and I think it takes a lot of time, experience, perspective to speak about things with such conviction. So and also just reading off of your website, I can see that this isn't your first business. But I'm curious for you personally, how talked about the food truck, which I wish I was around to try. But I'm curious for you personally, how did you like? What is your background as far as working? Have you been entrepreneurial your whole life? Is this the first time you've experienced entrepreneurship with John, with your son, or it's a little bit about your background? How did you end up here?
Well, it's been a fun path.
That's good.
Um, I have a checkered past, one could say. I've done a lot of different things. But here's
Nice.
something I noticed about being an entrepreneur. And I have been entrepreneurial my whole life.
Good.
Um, and I noticed this in John. I can look back now and see, even as a kid, I was organizing and doing entrepreneurial things. Not always necessarily for the good. When I was in sixth grade, I organized a neighborhood baseball league in the summer. The tail end of the baby boom, the neighborhood's teeming with kids. When I was in high school, one of the things I organized was Junior Cut Day. We had a blast. They threw me out of the school, but we had a blast. Um, in college, I think this is where you get some things. My sophomore year over Christmas, I read Tom Wolfe's Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test about Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. And he spoke about these parties they would have. And I guess today you'd call them raves.
Okay.
And the house band was called the Warlocks. They went
Okay.
on to be known as the Grateful Dead. And I'm reading this and saying, boy, I'd love to go to a party like that.
Yeah.
But I have no idea, where does this exist? Then I said, well, I should have that party.
Wow.
So I came back to school and I got some friends together. I look back on this now as if it was almost somebody else who did this. Right? I got some friends together and I said to them, guys, you're all going to pony up $100. This is 1977,
Yeah.
78.
Yeah.
You're all going to pony up
Yeah.
$100 to go in. We're going to have this party like 4 months from now.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't use this word, but these were my investors. And I took that money and I gave it to somebody who bought a pound of pot. And I said, I just want you to keep reselling this and we'll keep making more money that way. And
Wow.
on Wednesday nights, I ran a Wednesday night keg party, and you'd pay like I think we charged $2 a guy. Then you got a cup, do whatever you're going to do. Well, it was $2 to keep the keg party going, and then a dollar towards what became known as a 3-day party. Um, and so now we have this massive funds, and we get people together, and for I got bands and
Yeah.
we had wild stuff. I remember going in. I went to school in Massachusetts, and they have package stores there. I go to this package store, and I got a budget. Imagine that, a freaking budget. I wasn't calling it a budget. Um, and a list of things I want to get. And I'm going to get like 3 cases of vodka and gin. And the guy looks at me and says, "What are you doing this for?" And I tell him,
Yeah.
"Come down my basement." Go down the basement. He says, "Listen, I got some stuff. This is awful stuff. Private label, it's awful, but it's cheap. That's what you want to buy." You're like, okay, you
Wow.
know. But I also did a thing my senior year. I organized something called the Lunchbox Theater. And during the lunch hour, we put on plays and poetry readings and concerts. It was great fun. I
Well,
ran. Go ahead.
I'm just curious because this is I think I really appreciate the way that the way that you approach this question, because what you're speaking to is exactly it. These are very entrepreneurial pursuits, whether that label was used or not, whether the budget, the investors, whether those language was used or not. There's a quality in how you're going about these things and how you're pursuing these things that is very entrepreneurial. So I'm curious if you could speak on what do you think is that quality that you were expressing? Like
Oh, it's more
why were you, you know,
see an opportunity, see a problem or a challenge, and that becomes an opportunity. And it's a little bit of why not me? Let me go do this. And don't ask. You don't need to ask permission. We once got asked. John and I was speaking to a high school group, and a student said, "Well, who do you have to ask for permission to do this?" We realized, no, nobody.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
until they stop us. And I remember talking to an entrepreneurial class at Rutgers, and somebody said, "Well, I want to be an entrepreneur someday, but I think I need experience. I'm going to work for a company or something." I said, "Well, wait. You can be entrepreneurial within organizations." Um, Again, I didn't have the language for it, but early in my 20s, I worked for a congressman in New York, a guy named Joe Adabo. I didn't know. I was just coming to him with ideas all the time of things I wanted to go and do, and he would look at me and laugh and say, "Okay, go do it."
Uh-huh.
Um, it's I wound up. I spent much of my career in the healthcare field, and much of that started in the late 1980s. Remember, I told you I'm old. I worked in the Medicaid program in New York City, uh, and I wound up running the Medicaid health program. Uh, I was always doing things like wasn't I wasn't sitting around waiting for somebody to tell me what to do. I went out and looked and said, "What can we do? Where are there opportunities to have an impact?" And then just go and do it. It sounds it sounds almost trite, but the thing that stops us, our biggest obstacle, is between our ears.
Yeah, yeah,
We stop ourselves.
yeah. Well, thank you, thank you. That was my next question. You read my mind. I was going to say, typically, like you said, it sounds easy. It sounds just do it, but there are so many people that do not have their eyes open to the abundant opportunity available to them, or if they see it, they feel like they shouldn't address it now. So how do you approach when people ask you things like you said, do I need permission? I think I need experience. Like what is it like? How would you define this quality about like you just seem natural. You have a natural ability to come up with ideas and pursue them. Like,
Well,
how do other people do that?
I think the question you're asking is, are entrepreneurs born that way, or can you create an entrepreneur?
Hmm.
Um, I always believe you can create, you can change.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might have a greater proclivity for it, but I have 3 sons. Um, John is the youngest. He is an entrepreneur through and through. My 2 older boys are not. They've been around it. John was exposed to it. And what is it? John is just fearless. I can go and do this. Um, his idea to start this sock company. He, what a lot of people do is they start focusing on all the hard things, all the things I got to do, and all the reasons it won't work. Okay, and then there are other folks who, okay, how are we going to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
Here's where we're at. There's where we want to go. How do we get from here to there? Don't and there's a thing that happens. If you're out there in a car listening to this, be careful now. We tend to go where we're watching, where we're looking. If you're driving your car and you're looking at the side of the road, your car is going to go to the side of the road. If you're looking up ahead, your car is going to go straight ahead. So if you're looking and saying, I can go and do this, you're running this podcast. At some point, you were laying in bed, sitting on a couch, sitting at a desk saying, oh, I should do a podcast. And you had the mindset to say, okay, how do I get this done? There was no longer a question, am I going to do a podcast? It was, how am I going to get this done? Somebody else would, yeah, but I don't know if I can do that. I'm not talented like these other people, or, oh, it must be really hard, and I don't have the money, and I don't have this, and nothing happens. But you decided, I want to do a podcast. I'm going to go do a podcast.
So how do you take that mindset? How long has it been that you've been running John's Crazy Socks?
We started in December 2016. But I've run other businesses. I've been running businesses, I guess, since, I can go back to selling T-shirts on the streets of New York. That's entrepreneurial.
That's right.
and I laugh. I had a company in the mid-'90s, Newcomer software. And among other things, we put out Baseball for Windows 94. We got rave reviews. Lost every penny we had. People are not calling me up saying, Mark, can we talk to you about new Gutenberg software? But had I not done that, we would not have done John's Crazy Socks.
Why?
Because I learned. You learn you can go do this. There are things that you walk away and you learn all the time. And, that's another thing, right? Two guys get on a bus and they ride that bus from New York City to San Francisco. And one guy gets off the bus and he complains it was sweaty, it was hot, this trip sucked. And the other guy had enough experiences to ride on the road. You know what? Everything we do, we're going to be learning from.
So as far as the trajectory, like at what point, this is always an interesting inflection to me, is when you started the company. When did it turn from something you and John were just doing to, wow, like we have a business, we have to establish,
Let me come back and put some things in context.
Sure.
John was in his last year of high school. If you have a disability, you can stay in the school system anywhere in the U.S. until you turn 21. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to figure out, what do I do next? He doesn't see anything he likes. But he has this entrepreneurial bug. So he comes to me and says, Dad, I want to create my own business. Let's go into business together. You referred to the food truck before.
That's right.
Here's something. Entrepreneurs, I'm sure this has happened with many of you out there, have a lot of ideas. Uh-huh. They're not all necessarily good ideas. Uh-huh. So we joke, John, at one point he sees this movie, Chef, about a father and son bonding over a food truck. He says, Dad, we should do a food truck. He's all excited. We can make this and that. And we start thinking, where would we put it? I'm looking at what's it cost to buy a food truck for my son. And then we both have to admit, we can't cook.
We can't cook.
Yeah. So that's it. But he was the one, just like you mentioned, Blake, and many of you folks out in the audience, he loved wearing these crazy socks. Yeah. We used to drive around looking for them. So he said, let's sell them. And we figured, okay, if he loved them that much, surely other people do too. So we started just to test the idea, right? I've prepared lots of business plans. I've evaluated business plans. That's not what we did. We went the lean startup route. We said, all right, we'll build a website. We built it on a Shopify platform. They make it easy. Got a little bit of inventory. The only marketing we did to start was set up a Facebook page. I would take out my cell phone and made videos with John.
Mm.
Just John talking about songs. We opened to test the idea. The first day, we got what felt like a flood of orders. We got 42 orders. Most of them were local, which made sense. We live in a town called Huntington out of Long Island outside New York City. John was in Huntington High School, so, people knew us, knew John.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
We decided, because one of our pillars is we're going to make this personal. We always want to wow people. We want to create experiences. We decided that for those first orders, we would do home deliveries. So we got red boxes, put the socks in the box, looked at it, said, need something else. John wrote a thank you note, a handwritten thank you note, put that in. And we got bags of Hershey's Kisses and just poured those in the box, loaded up the car, drove around knocking on doors. John got out and delivered the socks. There were funny times, right? This is December in New York. It gets dark early. It gets cold. Yeah. I'm in the car. I'm watching him. He's toddling up to the door, knocks on the door. They open up. They invite him in. And I'm sitting in the car. And it's dark, and I'm getting cold. I'm like, where the hell is he? He's inside drinking hot chocolate, telling stories, taking pictures, having a grand old time. But what happened is at the end of that month, really 2 weeks, we had shipped 452 orders, and
Wow.
we had something.
Wow.
We didn't know how big it would grow. We didn't know how fast it would grow. But we knew we could go forward. And from that point on, we said, we have a business. We're going to grow this business.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 3 weeks?
2 weeks. Really, two,
Wow.
2 weeks.
Well done.
To test the idea. And then
Of course, yeah.
we hit January. I'd never been in the retail business before.
Of course, yeah.
We learned firsthand, nobody buys anything in January. They spent all their money at the holidays.
Okay.
We grew nicely in February, and for the first time, tried to get some media attention. And a funny thing happened. There was an online journal there is called The Mighty, and they did an interview with us. They didn't speak to us. It was an email interview. We answered some questions. They put an article out. Okay. Got a little bit of attention. And it's a Saturday, the first Saturday in March. And we did a pop-up shop. And we got the local cable news to come out and cover it. And everybody had lots of fun. It was great. It was our best day. And that evening, John wanted to go to dinner at the meatball place. Okay. We're driving like 45 minutes to get to this place. And all of a sudden, my phone, as the kids would say, starts blowing up. So, if you're out there an entrepreneur, if you set something up on the Shopify platform, they'll give you an app. And by default, the app gives you a little cha-ching every time you get a sale. Well, all of a sudden, cha-ching, 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 it's just going wild.
Wow.
I'm looking at our Google Analytics. I'm looking at our Shopify stats, trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Uh-huh.
In my hubris, I tell John as we're sitting at dinner, I said, maybe it's the SEO work I've been doing.
Uh-huh.
Nonsense. It turns out this journal, The Mighty, put out a video. Again, they didn't shoot anything. It's just a slideshow video. Last I looked, that had 20 million views.
Oh, my God.
We went from doing 40 orders to over 1,000 orders a day.
A day?
A day. Watch what you ask for. You may get it. It almost put us out of business. It completely overwhelmed us.
Yeah.
Right? Wiped out our inventory. We're ordering stuff. The day, as it hits, even before we can put it away, I'm adding it to our inventory. It's selling out. We haven't even put it on the racks. One night, I went to Best Buy to get 2 more computers. We had more packing stations, and recruited 2 of their employees to come and work for us the next day. But I'll come back to the theme we've been talking about, being an entrepreneur. We had problems. Okay, you can't sit on the floor and cry. You can't throw your hands up. It's like, what do we do now?
Right.
How do we make this work?
How did you stabilize after that? Because that does put a lot of businesses out of business when they're not able to.
We scrambled. We hired some people that stepped up, and they did great work. But here's part of what we learned. it comes and goes. So we moved into a warehouse, and then we hit the summer. And here's what we learned: nobody buys socks in the summer. It's awful, awful. We run out of money.
Yeah.
I got to let people go. It's back to just basically John and me.
Wow.
In the fall, things start coming back.
Okay.
We hire people back. It's growing a little bit. And then we had a TV appearance on Fox and Friends. That was a whole funny thing. They had heard about us. And media begets media. We had some other coverage. They invite us on. I always laughed at, and they've been very good with us. We've been on, I think, 15 times.
Uh-huh.
They don't seem to care that I organized the Obama campaign. I'm all that.
Okay.
But that morning, we got 3,300 orders. So once again,
Right. Right.
blows
Wow.
up. We're scrambling, and we've had a couple of episodes
Well,
like
Mark,
that.
I do have questions for you about like the trajectory of the business, how you guys stabilized, how you guys grew and scale. But something that I do want to get your opinion on is it is part of your mission. This is something that's also close to me, your friends, family, things like that, people with differing abilities, and the mission that you guys have as far as empowering those and also educating people that do not have it about that population and about what they can do, the stigmas that exist and things like that. So what has been your experience, and you can go in any direction you want with this question. What has been your experience with that portion of the mission as far as
Well,
your understanding of what's out there and
there
the work that you've done?
there are two things, and it's really all of a whole. Part of it is the mission and the whole power of a social enterprise.
Okay.
Think about it. If all we're doing is selling socks, that business plan, we didn't do it in the beginning. Well, we've gone and done the market research. Do you know how many sock companies there are? We've counted. There are exactly 1 gazillion sock companies.
Okay.
And if all we're doing is selling socks, we're lost. What do you say?
Yeah.
Ours are better than yours. John likes to say, well, they don't smell like yours. Um, but because we have this purpose, because we have this story that differentiates us in the marketplace, it attracts customers to us and it binds us with those customers. So that's baked into everything we do. But then there's the reality. So, I've told you some of our trajectory. So there we are. We need people that can help us put orders together. John, get some of your classmates. So we get some of his classmates who have autism to come down and work for us. They were great. Over the years, we run our own warehouse. We do our own fulfillment. And over the years, we've pulled from 3 different labor pools. People with different abilities, moms, because we schedule in 4-hour shifts. There's some dads in there. You can put your kid on the bus in the morning, go to work, pick your kid up in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then general laborers who, our starting salary is $17 an hour. We feed you once a week, and it's a nice place to work. Well, by far, the best labor pool for us are people with different abilities. They want to be there. They're excited. They pay attention. They're enthusiastic. They work to do a great job. We succeed because of them. Right? Here are some of the results. We do same day shipping. If an order comes in today by 3 o'clock, it is going out today. Our error rate is 0.2%. We do better shipping than Amazon. As John will point out, and Jeff Bezos, he's not putting a thank you note and candy in his packages.
That's right.
We do better shipping than Amazon, and it's because of the people we hire. Hiring people with different abilities is not altruism. It's good business. If John were here, you'd find, John's a very nice guy. I am not. If you're going to work for us, you got to produce. So
Yeah.
we don't give jobs to anybody. Everybody who works for us has earned that job. To get a little bit of detail. In our warehouse, it's a pick and pack warehouse. Big growth business. We have happiness packers or pickers we call sock wranglers. To get the sock wrangler job, you have to pass the sock wrangler test. have to pick 6 orders in 20 minutes or less, and you have to be accurate. We don't give jobs to anybody. You have to earn that job. Um, and that's part of the dignity. Everybody who's here knows they earn that job. They deserve to be here. Um, and it makes things pretty cool.
Well, thank you for that message. Thank you for putting that forward, because I think again, a lot of people that don't have exposure to population, or only have stigmas available to them, they would look at it as altruism, things like this. But I appreciate you pointing out that it's good business, that it does at the end of the day come down to that. Two of my favorite questions to ask. The first one is, at the moment, you guys have a lot of initiatives going at the moment, which I think is really cool to hear about how John Socks is going. But as far, just staying on the theme of John's Crazy Socks, what is the biggest hurdle for you at the moment, and how is it also an opportunity?
Well, listen, e-commerce is tough.
Yeah,
So we sell through 3 channels: direct to consumers through our website. We have opened a warehouse store, but that's a small piece. We sell to other businesses. We have a B2B line that's growing. If you're out there, we make custom socks. People love the custom socks. They give them out to their customers. They give them out to their employees. They make great gifts. People, nonprofits fundraise off of them. That's a growing business. We have to do a better job of marketing that, of letting people know we have it. The customers that buy it love them, rave about it.
yeah,
We just got to share that with more. And then the other one, which we thought we had licked but had become problematic, is selling it to the wholesale
sure,
chain. So, I mean, here's some of the reality. In 2020, we signed a strategic partnership with another firm, third generation family business that manufactured socks, and they sold into department stores and they made for brand names. So it was a great fit. It gave us manufacturing capability, financial stability, and opened up the retail world to us. Well, best laid plans of mice and men. That hasn't worked out. And
uh,
now they're pulling out. We're dissolving that relationship. We're nowhere in the retail world. At one point, we're in 800 Kohl's stores. I had gotten that. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so we have to rebuild that from start, and we're looking for a partner. Um,
Well, in the face of, again, like, navigating something like that, which is very uphill, and including the other things that you guys are starting and all of this, I am curious and excited to hear what inspires you.
we made a promise to the world. We made a promise to say, you could build the business as a dream in the way you want to run it, treating people well. We made a promise to create jobs and show what people with different abilities can do. We see the impact we have when we do speaking engagements. People line up for 45 minutes to take photos with John. There are more than a dozen businesses that have started and said, you inspired us to start. We've made a promise to the world. We have this opportunity, and that creates an obligation. That's what drives me every day. And I'm inspired by my son. He's so enthusiastic. Um, and once, he's the hardest working man in Sockdom. And once he just let's go do more and more.
Well, thank you. Thank you for choosing to see it as an obligation, choosing to see it as a responsibility, because through that, pushes you guys to work. And you guys have done some pretty incredible stuff. I am excited for the next episode where John can come on and talk about all the socks and things like that. If anyone else is inspired to follow along or get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Well, you can always go to johnscrazysocks.com, and you can reach me there and see all things we do there. The speaking coaching, we have John and markcronin.com. You can go and learn about that there. If you want to contact me directly, I am the only Mark X Cronin on LinkedIn. Uh, and if there's a way that I can help you, you let me know. Entrepreneurs are our tribe. Uh, we're always looking to see how we can help and support others and share some joy.
Awesome. Well, I definitely shared a lot of joy today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your story today, Mark. This is awesome, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you very much for having us. I appreciate you having me on, Blake.
Absolutely. You got it.